I'm not going to be alone with anybody underage. So I really don't have a desire to associate with young people.
Yes, you heard right. He called them young people. He has been revoked after getting sentenced just 9 months for doing the unthinkable. We'll watch his parole hearing and unpack it with all the details at the end.
Have a seat right there, and they will let you know what they have to do. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Bissa.
Good morning.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Friday, June 28, 2024, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Nancy Turner, good morning.
Good morning, Mike Cole.
Panel Member Rodriguez, good morning.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Adam Bissa, 273-924.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Adam Bissa, 273-924. He is serving a sentence of 99 months, executed suspended after serving 30 months, followed by 2,731 days of probation. For a violation of probation, the underlying charge is second, done between the ages of 13 and 15, after 3 years older, and illegal sexual contact, victim less than 16. He is currently on the sex offender registry. Requirement ends on July 23rd, 2029. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of March 15, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he has completed a short track program. He's currently participating in the veterans program, and he works in the kitchen. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the high range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low range. Mr. Bissa, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Well, I do have a plan this time when I get out. I'm planning to get certification in welding and to pursue a career in Connecticut rather than trying to hang on to my old life where I was a truck driver traveling outside the state of Connecticut. I'm looking forward to attending college for a business degree and living a legal life. As far as deserving parole, I really don't think I deserve it per se. I mean, what I did was terrible. There's nothing that I can say or do that's ever going to change that. And I leave that to your judgment.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Bissa. So why do you think you struggled so much on probation?
A lot of it was trying to hang on to my old life. Like, I was used to being a long haul truck driver. I was used to making a lot of money, and I didn't want to let that go. I kept trying to hang on to it. So I came out of prison with the wrong attitude and wasn't planning my future to be in this state. I kept wanting to go back to what I was doing.
So this is your second violation of the same period of probation. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You left the state, removed your GPS device, and then you were violating the terms of the sex offender agreement, treatment agreement, correct?
The treatment agreement? Yeah, I didn't show up for class, so yes, I did violate that.
Was your use of pornography and your exploration of social media in violation of the agreement?
That was the first probation violation, yes.
Okay. So you stated that a high risk for you is underage children. How do you plan to manage that out in the community?
I'm not going to be alone with anybody underage. So I really don't have a desire to associate it with young people.
What are your specific plans to study welding?
I'm going to be looking for a training program. I believe there's one in Birchport, but I haven't been able to verify it. I'm going to seek a grant or some kind of student loan to attend it.
Okay, so you haven't done any of the research, you haven't put any of the steps in place yet. So how are you going to support yourself when you are back in the community and pursuing the specifics of a welding career?
I'm going to work a job, probably something with a flexible schedule, like a fast food place or something like that.
So you had a reckless driving in 2022. You had a license?
Yes.
Is it still valid?
No, it's suspended at this time.
Okay. So why were you driving 107 miles an hour in a 65-mile-an-hour zone?
I was being stupid.
Yeah, but
I didn't really have a reason for it. I was just being dumb. I wasn't thinking.
well, Mr. Bissa, what we're doing today is making a decision whether it's appropriate for you to finish the 30 months you have to serve out in the community under parole supervision before you begin 7.5 years of probation. And we have to make that decision in light of the interests of public safety. And I'm not seeing it here. So I'm going to pass the opportunity on to my colleagues to ask you questions, and I will listen closely.
All right.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Bissa, one of the concerns I have right now is you started your opening statement. I didn't even hear an acknowledgement of the victims that were involved in these cases, which I'll be honest with you, concerns me, because I would think that someone in your situation, the first thing you would want to say is kind of connect with those victims and have some sort of statement around your apology or acknowledgement that they were impacted, or that, and I'm trying, why do you think that is, that you started this whole statement and never even mentioned the victims in the start? The first start of the whole thing was about how you're going to be improving your life.
I've been on record stating my acceptance of what I did. I didn't believe that repeating that was necessary.
Yeah, well, in my case, I would have liked to have heard that directly from you. Just so you know. You had some challenges. One of the reasons you said you left is because you didn't trust the probation officer.
No.
What was that about? What was that about?
When I had gotten the reckless driving, I was told that I wasn't going to be violated on it, but he started acting strange to me, asking me weird questions and stating statements that didn't make much sense to me. And I was under the belief that he was going to violate me regardless of what he said.
And so because of that, you didn't trust him. And so the alternative that you had for that was, I'm just going to leave.
Yeah, that was a pretty big mistake, but that's what I did, yes.
It was a very big mistake, right?
Yes, it was.
You were slated to take some addiction services programs. You haven't taken them yet.
I haven't been evaluated for them. I don't know why they put me on that list. I tried drugs back in 2002. And I didn't try them for very long. I could probably count the times on my fingers. I haven't done drugs since, and I was never addicted to drugs.
So what you're sharing with me is that you didn't really feel you really needed that type of program. Is that correct?
Not only do I feel I didn't need it, but they never called me for the evaluation.
I mean, I do have a score for you, so to some degree, they must have evaluated you. And what would be, and I've got some idea of your plan. I see you want to do welding school. What would you do to take care of the issues that you have on the outside of your?
I'm planning to contact the Birmingham group. They do mental health treatment and evaluation, and I'm planning to attend that.
Okay. Okay, so listen, so thank you very much for answering my questions this morning. I don't really have any additional questions for you.
No question.
No questions from Mr. Cole. Okay, so I'm disappointed in how Mr. Bissa is presented here today. I would have expected him to have come more prepared, having, researched his career goals and had the steps laid out. We didn't hear that. As my colleague pointed out, we didn't hear anything about his underlying offenses. He'd already taken care of that before, so he didn't think he needed to do it again, which in itself is a minimization of the seriousness of the offenses that he committed against a child. And I think his plan to manage his high risk with no desire to associate with children is pretty unrealistic. So I am not predisposed to grant Mr. Bissa early release to discretionary parole. He said it was up to us because he's not sure he deserves it.
I would concur, Madam Chair, with your findings as well. I also agree that you minimize the situation, and I was concerned that you didn't even mention the victims today. So I'm not there today. Agreed.
Okay, so I'm going with criminal history, nature and circumstance, and poor performance on community release.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the matter of Adam Bissa, inmate number 273924, there is a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: your criminal history, the nature and circumstances of your offense, and your poor performance on community release. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We couldn't see our way to a grant today, Mr. Bissa. We hope you'll continue to use your time in the prison to prepare yourself to be successful when you're back in the community.
We're all
I
set.
plan to, thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Adam Bissa 273924.
It was refreshing to hear the disgust in this parole board's voice, and for them to actually not make an excuse for them to release him, which we so often hear. Now, he's going to, no matter what, get out on his full term or his good term date at June 16, 2025. So 11 months. That's how much longer our community is going to be safe from him. 11 more months. Keep in mind, and we're going to go over the crime. It's just going to, I think, piss you off as it did me. What he did, and then the sentence he got, and then that he completely violated leaving the state, and then getting caught after doing that. And he was only sentenced in July of 2023. He's only been locked up for 1 year before he gets a chance of parole after violating, and he's getting out no matter what in 2 years. Now listen to what he did, because it's just scary. And then to think that this roach was a long haul trucker. If that didn't give you chills down your spine when you heard him, So the girl told investigators that she was watching a movie with her mother's boyfriend. I had to zoom it in. And her little sister in their Shelton home when the boyfriend asked her sister to go downstairs. Then he got up and locked the door. The girl, 12 years old at the time, asked her mom's boyfriend, 38 years old, Adam, what he was doing. Relax and let it happen, the girl said he told her as he began to touch her despite her protests. Just trust me. The girl said she was too scared to put up a fight. He continued to touch and kiss her. He told her he loved her as he continued to do that to her. About 6 months after the encounter, the girl told investigators. Now, she and Bissa would have sex in return. He plied her with gifts and money. The relationship continued until she was 14 years old. On Thursday, he pled guilty under the Alford Doctrine to second-degree sexual assault and risk of injury to a minor. The plea deal that they gave him, the plea deal that the district attorney handed this roach, which you just can't make this stuff up, that he would get this plea deal, was to receive a 10-year prison sentence, but suspended after serving 9 months. All he got for doing that was 9 months. Let that sink in. This girl is brave enough to go to the police. She's brave enough to tell them what was happening. And what do? 9 months. What lesson does that teach her? What lesson does that teach us? How does that protect our community? We all see what they released out into the public. I'm not going to hang out with young people. I don't like, it's children. It's madness. This is what we're up against. Assistant State Attorney Amy Bepko said in court Thursday that after Bissa's initial arrest by Shelton police in 2017, other victims came forward with similar complaints against him. 2 out of the state and 1 in Connecticut. Listen to this. We knew this before even reading this. I just read this now. But we had the hunch, right? He drives a truck out of state. 3 victims came forward. 3. And we all know that the percentage that comes forward against the percentage that we never hear from. I mean, this guy and they still gave him 9 months. The prosecutor did not detail the specific case and allegations brought in the other jurisdictions, but said the charges were not pursued against Bissa in the light of his guilty plea. Because you're a bunch of cowards. Prosecutors are a bunch of, most of them, as we see through the data, are just useless. The defendant has a habit of choosing victims who are easy targets and don't make for good witnesses, says the state attorney. The state is thankful to say that at least there is a conviction here. No, yeah, you don't care about our children. All you care about, the least of conviction, is putting that in your record book. So you can tout and make press releases how you have a 99% conviction rate. You're pathetic. The defendant will now have to register as a sex offender and have sex assault conviction. Hopefully, all the victims who have not found remedy in criminal court can rest a little bit easier. Really? You see this? How can you make that statement? You're pathetic. Rest easier? Rest because he was out for 9 months and then ran away to another state as soon as he got out? What do you think he did when he was on the run? You can't make this stuff up. And you wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. You really might not. And that's why we do this. We do this to show the corruption, which I think is what it is corruption, ineptitude. The idea that these prosecutors are not motivated by, I think, what should be their core values of their jobs is what should be protecting their community, protecting the most vulnerable in the community, protecting the children in the community. How is only prosecuting him for one case when 3 others were brave enough to come out there and become vulnerable and take that leap to tell their story to authorities? And you don't just make a phone call and say, oh, he did this. The interviews they would have had to have taken, the embarrassment, the documentation, all of that trauma that they would have had to go through to then see this is what you call justice? It's so clearly not. It's laziness. It's at the best laziness. I think it's criminal. And they make excuses. They say, well, the survivor doesn't want to go on the stand. And they make that up. We know it. You're going to tell me that out of the 4 victims, survivors, not one of them would have taken the stand? I don't believe it, because we have seen over and over and over in these parole hearings where the survivors get up and say they wanted to take the stand. But the DAs, they don't. They're overwhelmed. They have so many dockets, and really it's not on their agenda. They don't like these cases. They prefer to put someone away for 10 years for possession with intent to distribute the devil's lettuce. That's what they like to do. Well, now the world can see. Now the world can see. And only with this, I think change can happen.
You were ready to have a child with someone you barely knew who was a child herself. Very concerning decision-making on your part. And you know, the sum total of that scenario I just played out for you,
Yes.
it screams bitter. You plied her with marijuana, you isolated her in the house, you manipulated her thinking and her emotions. And then when she resisted you, you didn't care.
Keep in mind that he was 19 years old when he committed this one. And this is just one of a list of many offenses that they're going to go through in this parole hearing. I'll unpack it with all the details at the end.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ortega.
Good afternoon.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Friday, June 28th, 2024, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this afternoon, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Nancy Turner, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike Paul.
Panel Member Rodriguez, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Christopher Ortega, 410-418.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole applicant Christopher Ortega, 410-418. He's serving a sentence of 5 years flat for burglary third. He has a violation of probation. The underlying charges are sexual assault. Second, victim between the ages of 13 and 15. Actor, 3 years older. He also has an additional conviction for assault third. The offender is required to register as a sex offender, which ends on October 16, 2027. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of May 8, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he has completed the following programs since his, it shows he has completed the following programs. Tier 2, the short track sex offender program, Voices. He's currently enrolled in school to obtain his GED, and he also participates in prison arts. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the high range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the moderate to high range. Mr. Ortega, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I wrote a letter if I could read it.
Please.
I want to thank the board for allowing me this time to speak. First, I would like to apologize to the victims. I can't express enough how sorry I am. I'm not the same person I used to be. Every day I strive to be a better person. I have dedicated myself to be better, continuing my education towards my GED and finishing all my programs that were provided to me while I've been incarcerated. This continued work on myself has, and most importantly, showed me I need and will be a better father to my children. I love and miss them every day. I never want my kids to make the same choices I have made. I want them to see my efforts and progress so they know I'm the father they need me to be. I want them to see and know I will always be there for them no matter what happens. I lost my mom during this incarceration. Losing my mother broke me. Losing her showed me how short life can be and stop taking it for granted. If I'm lucky enough to be granted parole, my work will not stop. I will continue to work towards my GED. I've also lined up 3 different job opportunities upon my release. I know I will need help, so I'll be working with a therapist and seeking counseling to help me continue being better. I would never take this opportunity for granted. Any requirements the board asks of me, I will do without hesitation. All I ask is for your consideration to be granted parole. All I ask for is a chance to prove myself. No matter the decision, I will stay on the right path, continue my work towards to be a better person that I want to be for myself and my kids. Thank you for this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ortega. We're going to ask you some questions, then we'll deliberate. You'll have our decision this afternoon. The questions will begin with my colleague, Mr. Pohl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Ortega.
Good afternoon.
So we have a couple of offenses here that the reason why you're sitting there, right?
Yeah.
So the burglary third.
Yes.
That's so you're 20 years old. What's going on?
I wasn't living with my mom. I was on my own, and I needed money around that time. I didn't have a job, didn't have my ID and stuff like that. So one of my friends told me he knew a spot, and I just went along with him, stood back away from it, and ended up getting hit with it. It was a bad decision I made at that time.
Incredibly bad decision, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one thing. So what have you done to change your circumstances so that you don't need to do this again?
Ever since then, I stopped chilling with the same group of people I involved myself back in the days. I just learned to work towards myself, been there for my kids a lot more. That helped me stay out of trouble and not mess with the wrong group of people.
And how you started work on the GED?
Yes.
And how did the social studies test go?
I only failed it by 2 questions.
So you're going to try it again?
Yes. Right now I'm taking my RLA one.
Reading language arts?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. So you'll circle back and work on that?
Yeah.
So that's something that you plan on continuing to do in the community?
Yes,
I mean, that's the way up and out, right?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Nah, like, I feel like my education will also help me be better because I learn more things as I go. And I eventually want to like take college courses.
Okay. And that's a good thing, right?
Yes,
27, that's a good age to buckle down and get some stuff done there, right?
yeah,
Okay. There's also an assault third here that was domestic in nature, right?
yes.
What do you know about that after, you did voices, you didn't do like an anger management or a DV while you were in there, right?
No, currently right now I wrote to get added into the DB class and I started that last week.
How long is that?
I think it ends sometime in September.
Okay. And then you have the violation of probation,
Yes,
and it involved the sex too.
yeah.
What did you learn from that?
When getting involved with a female, make sure they're of the age, even if I gotta ask for ID to make sure they're the right age and stay away. Normally I just stay to myself now. Like I'm not my mindset, whether I get denied or approved, I'm not looking into no relationships. I just want to be able to better myself.
So age is one thing, right?
Yeah.
What else is another thing that you need to be really cognizant of when it comes to these kind of offenses?
They're not right. I gotta make sure I maintain myself on the right path and not get distracted.
Right? Did she consent here?
Yeah. We were in a relationship and I ended up meeting her mom, but I didn't end up meeting her father till later on, and that's when I ended up finding out her age.
I don't know. The statement that came from the victim here doesn't really match that.
I know they read it to me before.
So talk to me about consent.
Consent to me would be if somebody is it's approval. Like if they say no is no. I mean consent would they gotta agree to it, especially if like the age is what plays a big role in it.
When you were 15, were you making the right decisions?
No,
Or 13?
no,
They were kind of like ill-informed. Often.
Mm,
Sometimes could be reckless.
yes,
You took voices,
yes.
which deals with what did you learn from that as it applies to you and why you're here today?
Which they showed me a lot about like victims and just like a lot of people that I seen in the video that was represented, like, is learning how to take accountability for your own actions and learning not to like peer pressure people into doing things they're not willing to do. Like, there was multiple, there were multiple points in the group that like we touched up on, and a lot of things from the group I'ma imply them to myself.
Like,
If you know you have a problem, seek help. Cause that's the main, that's key, acknowledging that you have an issue.
yep. What else?
It's like if staying away from like the person that it happened with. Cause you wouldn't want to be the reason why, like there's not them doing it to you, you're more so doing it to yourself to end up in the situation that you end up in, knowing that they were already a victim of something that you caused or something that happened.
Okay, so you want to go to a halfway house, Hartford, Bridgeport?
Yes.
And what are you thinking about for work?
In Hartford, I have a roofing job lined up, but if that doesn't work, that doesn't mean I won't like continue to look for work. And in Bridgeport, I have 2 jobs lined up. One of them is with my step grandfather. He owns a furniture shop, and then my stepdad, he does home renovations like painting, sheetrock, like anything that involves like fixing the houses.
Okay. You know, in the community, you need to do, treatment for problem sexual behavior, right?
Yes.
And the other thing I had a question on really was, do you know how to access mental health support?
No.
Okay. Okay. And do you think you need support when it comes to that?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I don't have anything further.
Okay. So, Mr. Ortega, you were on probation. And you were not registering, not maintaining a registration as a sex offender. And you were smoking marijuana and violating the conditions of your sex offender treatment agreement.
Yes.
In fact, you violated probation on the very same day you started it. And then 4 days into your probation term, you disappeared.
Yeah.
And now you sit here asking us for parole.
Yes.
So, you know, you're 27 and it's time that you became a responsible adult. You have children and you have obligations, and, you know, the behavior that you've been engaged out in the community really isn't acceptable. I want to go back to your answer to my colleague's question about consent. Can your partner withdraw consent? Do you know what that means?
No.
Change her mind,
Yeah.
decide she doesn't want to go any further,
Yes.
or like your victim tell you it hurts and she wants you to stop?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And, you know, you need to be a man and be responsible for your own actions. You
Yes,
don't get to just force it to the end. And then, you know, you grossly manipulated this child with marijuana. You isolated her in the house. And she was 13. She's telling you the only way we can have sex is if we have a baby together. And after you know, had unprotected sex with her, you told her that you were, what, 90% sure she was pregnant. You were ready to have a child with someone you barely knew who was a child herself. Very concerning decision making on your part. And you know, the sum total of that scenario I just played out for you,
yes,
it screams predator. You plied her with marijuana, you isolated her in the house, you manipulated her thinking and her emotions. And then when she resisted you, you didn't care. Do you understand how serious an impact that you had on her?
yes,
I hope so. Your answers are less than forthcoming here. You know, when I read all the documents, especially the report the parole officer Logan prepared for us after she interviewed you, the note I made to myself is, you don't take responsibility for anything. Can you tell me if I've got that wrong?
no,
Yeah. I don't hear you taking responsibility. You blame her for lying about her age. With regard to the burglary, you know, blame your co-defendant. You deny putting your arms around the neck of your victim for the assault third. So I guess I'm looking for change and I'm not seeing it in you, sir. And that's concerning because you have a flat sentence and you have a lot of work you need to do on yourself. Are you up for the challenge?
yes, I am.
Okay.
I got
What are you feeling right now?
anxiety, scared.
Because I'm getting nothing from your demeanor, from your facial expressions. And I'm trying to understand what's happening here. You know, to your credit, you've had no DRs. You've been working as a tierman. You're trying to get your GED. So these, to me, are all indications, you know, that you are trying to change. Do you appreciate that you still have work to do?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You know, one of the things that concerned me was, you know, you're struggling, as you describe it, with some PTSD, and your plan is medical marijuana. But you've had PTSD and you've been incarcerated and you haven't had medical marijuana. Would you consider, as my colleague was talking to you about some mental health, working with a therapist and trying to
Yes.
work through the PTSD and not just smoking pot so that you don't, you know, really have to feel your feelings?
Yes,
Okay. I think that would be a really strong role model for your children. Like getting your GED would be a real strong indicator to them that education's important.
yes, it is.
Yeah, but you got to show it. So aren't you planning to sponsor to your stepfather's house?
Yes,
Okay. So the halfway house would be a backup. Your sponsor is on probation?
yes,
Okay. I'm really glad to see that you started the domestic violence program. You need to finish it.
okay,
And then you need to take it out in the community, the longer program.
all right,
But you really need to step up, sir, and get responsible. You're 27 now.
I understand.
I hope so, sir, because, you know, you've got great potential. Look at all the jobs. there in the facility that you've already lined up for yourself and the support network that you have out in the community, you don't have any excuses for not being successful. You just got to be willing to do the work.
I'm willing to
Mr.
keep trying to
Rodriguez.
be better.
I hope you will, and let me just say, because if we were to grant you parole today, your parole officer isn't just there to hold you accountable. They're there to support you being successful, but you need to use this time to build a relationship with them. They've got access to programs and services that can help you with housing, with work, with mental health treatment. So, take a positive mindset into the relationship, because it's just about having another person in your support network to help you be successful so that you don't come back and spend your 30s in prison.
Okay.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have a lot of questions. I just, I want to agree with my colleague that you seem really flat today. We're not really getting like a lot of answers from you. They're all yeses or nos or maybes or, part of what we have to do is figure out whether, you kind of have gotten with all the programming, and you've gotten good programming, what you've gotten from that. And I don't know, you're just kind of very flat today for me. I'm not hearing a lot from you, and it makes it more difficult to make a decision. And we can't really
It's understanding.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, so your thoughts, Mr. Cole? Just a minute, Mr. Ortega.
Madam Chair, Mr. Ortega has a flat sign. Mr. Ortega has not gone through treatment for child sexual behavior. And would benefit greatly from the support of all community services in the community with things like mental health support, which also treatment the connection provides. And that's an incredibly important thing. Certainly, Mr. Ortega didn't give us a lot today. But for me, I think that the support that we can give would add to his chances to be able to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about a halfway house because obviously from reading what we read,
There may be some issues.
There's possibility of issues there. He admittedly just missed social studies by 2 questions, but it's on to English language arts and going to try to continue to do better. And so based upon all the information in front of us, I would support parole in this case. However, I would support parole in this case, I believe, after the contingent on completion of the domestic violence program.
Yes, I think that's essential. And I guess, so we're looking, that would give him about 2 years on discretionary parole. We're obviously going to skip problem sexual behavior treatment. So that would be sufficient time to include the next program for domestic violence as well. Are you in agreement,
Yes,
Mr. Rodriguez?
Madam Chair, I sure am.
Okay, so what the conditions I have is a halfway house, problem sexual behavior treatment, no contact with minors without PO's permission, no pornography, mental health evaluation and treatment is deemed necessary, no contact with victim, initials JF, and no contact with co-defendant Jonathan Morales.
Second.
You good with those?
Yep.
Anything to add? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we're ready, Mr. Ortega. In the matter of Christopher Ortega, inmate number 410418, there is a motion to grant parole on or after today's date, June 28th, 2024, with the following conditions: halfway house placement, problem sexual behavior treatment in the community, no contact with minors without your parole officer's permission, no access to pornography, mental health evaluation and treatment is deemed necessary, no contact with your co-defendant, Jonathan Morales, and no contact with the victim, initials JF. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, and domestic violence programming in the community,
Yes.
excuse me.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So, oh, and I'm sorry, it's contingent on the completion of the domestic violence program you started last week. Okay,
Okay.
so even though we're using today's date, it's offset until you complete that program. If you don't complete the program, that changes the decision. So-
Okay, thank-
Get something out of it, do the work, and we wish you much success, especially want to see you continue on your efforts to obtain your GED. It's an important
you.
foundation. You can build the rest of your life on it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So contingent upon completion of DB and then do the DB as well. Okay, just wanted to clarify. This concludes the hearing for Christopher Ortega, 41041.
I just don't get it. How terrifying is that? He has a parole hearing, which is clearly awful. I mean, now his maximum release date is November 7th, 2026. So a year and a few months, 5 months away. And because it's a straight sentence, they want to have him out, in the community with some type of supervision. And if you want to make that argument, fine. I'll buy into that argument. But then why even have a parole hearing? I mean, it's just the whole system is so messed up. This guy was scary. They even mentioned, they're like, you're not giving us anything. You're just kind of sitting there and staring. I mean, is that not terrifying? Do you wonder what's going on in his mind, what he's thinking? This is just another scary, scary, scary predator. You hear there's two parts to this hearing. There's the Mike Poll beginning, which is always just ridiculous. And then you have the Turner end where she turns on the fire. And even Poll, who just wants to, coddle everyone, was like, what? He couldn't believe what was being told to him, but he still didn't challenge it. He didn't challenge the fact, the guy said, yeah, we were in a relationship. And she was 13. He was 19. And he said it so nonchalantly. And it's just like, and you find out he finds this little girl and tries to get her pregnant. And in this parole hearing, it's just like, what did you learn? I learned to ask their age and get ID. We were in a relationship. I mean, it was just so confusing because a lot of the hearing, they were talking to him as if yeah, they were in a normal relationship, but the problem wasn't that they were in a relationship. The problem is that he there wasn't a verbal consent, and she could. And I had to go back to the spreadsheet that Richard has here, and I had to look at his age when he was convicted, look at her age, do the math, and I'm like, it's not like he was 15 and she was 13. He was 19 and she was 13, and you really wouldn't have known that. Oh, it just makes you wonder. I mean, his record is so long. This guy is like a hardened criminal. He's like a degenerate. antisocial. I think, like, again, you look that up and it shows up in the Wikipedia page. I know I'm just speculating on a situation like this. I'm just a Mandoo. I don't have a PhD. I don't know. It goes all the way back. So he gets the assault third and 20. And this is, remember, Connecticut only goes back 10 years. So that's why it starts at 2014. And he gets they kept, coddling him, 1 year jail, but executed suspended. He has failure to appear, violation of probation. This is when he did the thing to the girl, risk of injury to a child. He was only sentenced to 1 year. They gave him 1 year for that. 1 year. How do you get 1 year? How? There could be so much they could have thrown away, but no, they gave him 1 year. They gave him a year. And I don't know, this thing is so long. He's most recently arrested on 2022. This is for his most recent offense. And it's failure to register. Yeah, that's assault third degree. And then they only give him 5 year sentence. It's just, I don't even know where to start with this. I don't know where to go. It's frustrating. It really is that they felt they had to give him parole. They're sending him back out into the streets. You can clearly tell he's learned nothing, but what do you expect? No, he's going to do one more program on violence or whatever, and he's going to be all better. So, hey, if he gets revoked, we'll see him. We'll play that for you. Hopefully he doesn't harm any more children. I did like the way Turner, went into it, but it's I don't know why he would get that kind of sentence with that kind of record, but he did. Anyways, with that, I'll let you go.